our audience. Thank you for coming today to our Brown Bag Talk. We're very lucky to have Jessica Catron, Jeremy Drake, and Corey Fogel, who are Missincinatti. They are our second artist group performing as part of the New Songs for Butte Mining Camp Project. This project is funded for musicians to reinvent Butte mining and labor songs in a new style with funding from the Montana Cultural Trust. And we just received news that we got National Endowment for the Arts funding for 10 more musicians under this project. So it's going to go on for 10 more musicians and probably 2 years worth of visits.
Great.
So yeah, we're very excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you, yeah. So Jessica has been very helpful in us getting those grants because she wrote letters of support, very well organized woman. And as part of this, Jessica came out a previous time to Butte to do research here at the archives, and she dug through the files that we see behind us, coming up with inspiration, choosing the song that they're going to work on and turn into their own song. And today they're back with the whole band to perform the song that they created, and probably more too, because they're very enthusiastic. I'd like to pass it over and welcome Missincinatti. Thank you.
Thanks. So yeah, we brought 2 songs today. I don't think we're going to do that one.
We're not. Okay. Maybe 3.
No, yeah. We've kind of got 3, but one of them wasn't actually on the list. So, but I did find it in the files, and it's like 20 seconds long. But yeah, the ones we brought today. First one, Solidarity Forever, which is the first one that I chose upon the application of the grant. And that Solidarity Forever is, I mean, I already knew it by name as a workers' IWW song, unionizing song, and in the little New Songs for Butte Mining Camp pamphlet is the reworded Butte version. So borrowed the words from that in addition to one verse from the original IWW version. And so we've kind of made our own thing with that. And the other one, which I guess I've titled Old Butte Miner, I think came from hearing, I was actually trying to remember where I actually came upon it. It's not actually in the archives here, it's in the Mansfield. It's under the, it's off of the reel-to-reel George Prescott recording from 1946, I believe, maybe 48. So I listened to that and then arranged it for the 3 of our voices. And yeah, going with that. Oh, and I had some minor songs or minor sounds to go with that, which I actually need my other iPad for. So, should we start? I don't know. This is. I was hoping, kind of informally, to kind of. Would you like to hear about some things first, or should we start with a song, or I don't know.
Start with a song. Okay.
You want to do Old Butte Miner first?
Yeah, except I need to get this going so we can play the song sounds here. So, give me just a minute, please.
No problem.
But while I'm waiting for my iPad, I'll just say that this was a really very inspiring time for me. When I came in November, staying for 5 days, and having, all the access to these things and then anything else one could imagine to find here was, it was just, I felt like I was in school again. I'm being a mother of 2 and running a small business in Missoula, like there's just not a whole lot of me time happening. And so to have that 5 days to just dive into whatever interests, I wanted to follow was just really very inspiring, and I learned so much. And being in the archives, just I felt having artifacts to hold, like the pamphlet and like the Emily's IWW pamphlets and her cards and everything just brought me so much closer to the subject matter, I guess. And as an artist, you know, the subject matter is just, it's often just words on a page or pictures, you know, but it just felt so close and personal and made it really feel very real and exciting. So, all right, well, this one, Old Butte Miner. Hearing the recording of George Prescott, it's a very, very rough recording, hard to hear his words, but the tune is what caught me in this recording. He's just kind of, it's just his voice, and he's just kind of swinging while he's singing, and so I listened many times to write down the words, and then discovered that the tune was taken from what was a very popular song at the time, Judy Garland and who was I'm forgetting. When You Wore a Tulip was the hit song of like 1942, so that's the tune he kind of used, but was singing all about Butte. And so Jeremy, actually, you found the score.
The original sheet music, yeah.
Yeah, online for When You Wore a Tulip, and I took that piano score and decided to just kind of borrow some of the chordal stuff from the piano and arrange it for 3 voices, so it's kind of barbershop style trio.
And it also helped to fill in some of the lyrics that were a little hard to decipher on the recording.
Yeah.
Some things that didn't quite make sense to the ear. Once we saw what the original lyrics were, we were able to understand what he was saying. So he would kind of combine some of his original lyrics with some of the lyrics from the song.
Yeah, and it's not for sure that he wrote the lyrics either. He would, as far as what I learned about George Prescott, is he was a musician, you know. So I don't know if he wrote these lyrics or if he was singing somebody else's song. It's not really listed either way. So, but yeah, half the words are from the Tulip song, and half the words are about Butte. So that's that. And then I just made a sound, kind of simple sound design from field recordings of mines that we're just going to sing over. So I'll play that.
And just a word about the lyrics. There's some interesting sort of juxtaposition in the lyrics, because he's singing about a fellow miner, and then he starts singing about a sweetie, and there's no real like indication of a switch between the subject. So
it's like, so you were throwing rocks into the chute, and I met you in a hot box, and so, and then it's like
your lips are sweeter than
right.
julep.
You made life cheery, and called me dearie. So
no, not sure.
We all really liked
That's really what's behind that, but maybe he just couldn't think of something other than your lips are sweeter than julep.
Yeah.
Or maybe there was something else going on.
Some romance in them.
Romance in the hot box. Anyone know what a hot box is? Is that term, is it common around here?
Probably somebody that I don't know.
So it's apparently what miners just call the mine. Like
the hot
when you're
box.
down
Makes
there,
sense because it was
the hot box.
hot down
Because
there.
most of them are pretty hot down there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very hot. They often had to ventilate just to get cooling air from the surface.
How about we just say what the lyrics are before we sing it, so that you
That'd be
can.
great.
So I met you in a hot box in this good old town of Butte. You wore a mucker's suit, another thing, a local vernacular. Pouring rock into the chute. Bill Gallen was the shift boss, and he used to raise old hell. When you were a miner, a good old Butte miner, and you wore those dirty clothes. Now, and here's the switch. Now, when you caressed me, it was then heavens blessed me. What a blessing no one knows. Now you made life cheery when you called me dearie. 'Twas down where the copper water flows. Your lips were sweeter than julep when you wore a tulip, and I wore those dirty old miner clothes.
Nice.
I don't know. Sounds like Brokeback Mountain.
Love story in the mines.
Could be.
Good stuff.
I met you in a hot box in this good old town of Butte. You wore a mucker suit, pouring rock into the chute. Bill Gallen was the shift boss, and he used to raise old hell. When you were a miner, a good old Butte miner, and then wore those dirty clothes. Now when you caressed me, it was then heavens bless me. What a blessing! No one knows. Now you made life cheery when you called me dearie. 'Twas down where the copper water flows. Your lips were sweeter than julep when you wore a tulip, and I wore those dirty old miner clothes.
Love it. Somehow when you sing it, the romance makes sense, you know? Like
Yeah, it's well, yeah. The barbershop thing definitely lends itself to lovebirds, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brokeback Hot Box.
There you go.
Brokeback.
Gotta rename it. Brokeback Hot Box.
Yeah, new name for
That's the
this
name
song.
of your album, I think.
I like Hot Box Mountain too.
Hot Box
Hot
Mountain.
Box Mountain. Makes a lot more sense.
Actually, that's good too, yeah.
See some kind of 70s film.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. All right. Well, any questions? Any? I don't know.
What attracted you to that song and then the choice of how you sang it?
Yeah, well, as I said, just here, I had to dig to find it because what I remember is finding just a little like Dewey Decimal card, just typed with George Prescott, Butte Miner, I think is all it said. And so I was like, what's that? So figured out where it was, and then, oh, it's on this, well, here it's a digital recording. And I can't remember like where it's to be found in all of this, but it's a digital recording that it's like minute 52 in like a 2-hour reel-to-reel of just a whole bunch of single voice songs, and not all George Prescott, but there was a whole bunch of, I remember right before it was a whole bunch of Finnish songs, I think, like
Right.
traditional.
Or the Serbian, or
Oh
the,
yeah, Serbian.
yeah.
That's yes.
So that's on the Google Drive, right? Those, I think
It's
we
on
have
the
those.
Google Drive.
Okay.
That's where it came from. That's where, yes.
Yeah.
And so I guess you could answer that, because I was telling these guys, I was like, I don't even remember where I heard it from. You got the Google Drive, but not from the archives. then.
I contacted, that's from the Mansfield collection, so I contacted them and they gave us the reels that had all the Butte related songs on them that had been digitized. So not, and then we were lucky because all of the Butte songs had been digitized by chance.
Yes.
So they're all on there. But yeah, as you noted, the recordings are rough. It's really hard to hear.
Oh yeah, and I mean just
Yeah.
the fact that and thanks to digitizing, it was relatively easy to find because you could see, oh, it's at minute 52 and 14
Yeah.
or whatever, so I could just go boop, boop, boop and find that. But I mean, I imagine reel to reel, like, I mean, I would no one who would ever hear that, you know,
Right.
buried
Yeah,
in
they
this
have
long.
interns, I think, in the library
Right.
doing that.
So,
Thank you to people who do that, you know?
so I'm curious, was there like an ethnomusicologist in the 40s who was around here, like grabbing musicians and saying,
Yeah,
"Sing me
and
your
that
song"?
information's in there too. And I'm not gonna get the names of story right. So, but that was kind of my inspiration for this project, was because I am an academic. So I found these journal articles on songs of the Butte Mines, was one of them, and then another one was an article just about broader labor songs from Butte. Or no, I'm sorry, one was about the IWW songs specifically, and then one was about broader labor songs from Butte. And one of those articles was, or maybe both, were the product of a set of ethnomusicologists, or I can't remember what their field was exactly, that they went around Butte in the 40s and Montana. They went through the whole state in the 40s and recorded music of just what people were singing, you know, like,
Yeah.
and so it really captures the immigrant groups all throughout Montana, and their like native songs that they brought with them, you know, and then the ways they were singing them. And in particular, the Butte ones really capture a moment in time in Butte, because they went around to the bars, and so there's all these little notes in the journal article that are so interesting. They're like, oh, this guy, his name's Old Duffy or something, and people say, you know, he sings this version, but this other guy sings this version, and they change the lyrics like this. So it shows the kind of living nature of the songs, and just my mind exploded with that, you know. And then I went, you know, and talked to Ellen here, who runs the archives, and her dad knew a lot of these songs, and he's actually on Library of Congress recordings singing a bunch of these songs too. So it's just like the history is huge, and if you meet older Butte people, a lot of them will know some of the songs, or they remember hearing people singing them around town. But I think it's largely being lost with people like my age and younger. So,
Which
thanks
is
for bringing
interesting
us up.
because digital reach is so, I mean, people now can find that stuff easier than ever before, but it's like, is the interest there? I mean, I guess it just takes
It's
the
like,
right people.
yeah, I run into this all the time, just intellectually, because like when I contacted the Mansfield Library, I was like, oh my god, send me these recordings, I'll pay anything. And they gave it, and they were like, wow, you want these? Like nobody has
Nobody
touched
ever
it.
has.
Yeah. So they gave us like a really very like nice deal to, you know, I think we paid $35 or something for, and they sent us like 3 reels.
Right, it was a lot.
It's a
Yeah.
lot.
It's a lot of stuff.
Because nobody asks for them, I don't think so. Yeah. But I'm hoping, you know, that by having contemporary musicians reinvent them, maybe that will spark some interest. Yeah.
Yeah, and to go back to your first question is like why that one and why, you know, what was my interest? I mean, I will admit personally as a musician, I mean, I said this in some of, just knowing me and my process, I think I'm a musician's musician in the sense that like composing music has always come very naturally to me. Composing lyrics, not at all. And I just don't feel like I've ever been good with words, and I have a lot of judgments with words, but notes and melodies and things just flow freely, relatively speaking. And so to stumble upon other people's words that I really like, and especially if they've already got a catchy tune, like I'm all over that. And so, you know, I think coming into these little pamphlets where you see a lot of words, that's really fun for me to read and get inspired by. But then to hear him singing and to have the, I mean, I sort of had to listen to get the words, but then to have the tune already kind of there, I feel like that's what I want to jump on and then run with it. Like, what else can I make of that or do with that? And I start getting all the ideas. Whereas just to have a blank sheet of paper and like all the
Make
freedom
a
in the
song,
world,
yeah.
that's intimidating and overwhelming to
Yeah.
me as a musician. So, so that kind of answers why I think I grabbed onto that one little recording, because it was already like, sort of put together. And then then with the lyrics being kind of like, what is being said here? Like, of course, then I was like, I love this. This is great.
Yeah.
So.
What about the barbershop treatment? How did you get there?
Well, I mean, I think, it's a cappella, it's just him, so I was like, well, I like just the voice thing, knowing that there's three of us, well, if we could just do some thick harmonies, I think that would be really fun to use, to just broaden it, and then being that we're all untrained voices, and then with, thinking I'd use the sounds of the mines. What I learned while I was here is, I already knew this, but, working on the railroads, working on the mines, like, you sing songs to pass the time. People would sing together for the heave-ho, give rhythm to, like, the work, right? The repetition and just the hours and hours. And so songs would come out of the mines. So, like, thinking of the three of us down there, like, singing this barbershop love song, I just liked the juxtaposition of that, but being that we're untrained voices, it kind of brought the roughness of the mines, the mine sounds. So, I don't know, it all just became a picture for me of, putting us there, but totally not, because it's a barbershop trio. So maybe down there in like nice suits with bow ties.
But I think that's true that like George Prescott, and then they sang, I think, in bars and stuff around Butte, so it was also after hours that a lot of these songs would be performed, and maybe that's part of the humorous side of the lyrics there. It's a lot of these guys are lonely, they don't have partners, so they're kind of playing with that.
And the story I made up in my head about why the lyrics are like that, I was like, okay, well, by the time he got recorded, he probably was
Maybe
like 85
remember.
years
That
old,
could be.
and like his brain was like half in the minor song and half in the original,
It could
and
well
it
be.
just like one turned into the other, and so like maybe there was a whole Butte song that was sung to that tune, but that's all he could remember, and so then it just turned into Tulip, and he just like maybe didn't even know.
Yeah.
And it's just,
That
I mean,
makes
that was
sense.
like, because he sounded old on the recording, I mean, that was like the story I made up in my head.
That makes sense, yeah.
So.
I mean, we'll never know.
Would never know. Yeah.
Part of the charm and sorrow of the whole thing.
It's true, yes. Very true.
Cool.
Yeah.
Want to play another? Or what do you want to
Yeah.
do?
So, Solidarity Forever is the other one we're sharing, and this one also, I mean, sticks. We really stick to the melody. I mean, this, like I said before, is it's sung to Battle Hymn of the Republic, which is, again, using a tune that everybody knew, changing the words so that people would listen to what you're saying, because the tune is catchy. That was the way you got people to listen to your message.
Or to be able to sing it, because they only have to learn new words. They
True.
already have the melody.
Right.
Yeah. And so both ways. It was easy to pick up, but it was also like how you got the common folk to listen to what you wanted to say about unionizing or, joining your team. And so I like that. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, and to, not forget that was used all the time. Again, in many different folk histories, that's been the case. So that's why I settled on doing this one as well. And our amplified version is quite different than what we're presenting right now. I suggest you come see the show for the full Jeremy really took it to another level with his electric guitar. And it's really fun to hear. But this is our kind of acoustic version here. So.
Do you want to say anything about the lyrics? Because they are pretty important.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll just, I'll read through them like we did the other ones. So, the Butte version of Solidarity Forever. On the 12th of June in 17, one bright midsummer's day, the workers in the mines of Butte, they took a holiday. Conditions were sure rotten and they wanted better pay, so they made a union strong. The owners of the mines of Butte were called the ACM, a dirty bunch of parasites whose place is in the pen. We call upon our workers, all good red-blooded men, to join the union strong. It is we who sunk the shafts, drove drifts, and contract raises too. It is we who work in hotbox till the sweat runs out our shoe. Is there anything left for us but to organize and brew a great big union strong? The master class is organized in one big union strong. The workers are disorganized, a weak and motley throng. But now they are awakening, and the time will not be long, for the union makes us strong. The rustling card has got to go, it ne'er shall see new year. It's kept the working class of Butte in misery and fear, but its days are nearly ended and its funeral is near, for the union makes us strong. And then this verse I took from the original. They have taken untold millions that they never toiled to earn, but without our brain and muscle, not a single wheel can turn. We can break their haughty power and gain freedom when we learn that the union makes us strong. Now we call upon all workers, no matter what your creed, your color, nationality, to that we pay no heed. We're workers all and nothing more, so hurry up and speed, a one big union strong. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. The hoping to make that a big sing-along.
I think it'll.
Yeah.
I was doing it without being prompted, so.
That was the point of those kinds of songs.
That was the
That's
point.
right.
Exactly.
Well, those Butte specific lyrics are really cool.
They're
but,
good, yeah. Well, and I was struck, they've taken untold millions that they never toiled to earn, like was so right as well, you know, and I mean, sad that it probably generally just speaks for workers that have been.
It's, nothing has
Right,
changed.
right.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
yeah,
that's,
and it's, I mean, it's worldwide, it's always happening, so, you know?
yeah, that's why I think these songs still have relevance.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Indeed.
yeah.
And this version was, you know, as so much was a response to the granite disaster,
Granite Mountain.
Granite
mine,
Mountain
yeah.
disaster, yeah. So that was a real galvanizing event.
It was.
Yeah. You know, that brings a question, again, maybe you know the answer. We were just talking on the way here, Granite Mountain, Speculator Mine, are they the same?
I think they connect. There were two mines, but they connected underneath, so it was a kind of.
So when people refer to
Both.
Granite Mountain or Speculator Mine, they're referring
It's
to
the
the same
same.
disaster?
Yeah.
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 Because the smoke went both
Moved.
directions and killed people in
Yeah.
both mines.
Okay.
Yeah, it was,
So miners may have entered in two different places, but they were both affected.
yeah. They got trapped
Yeah.
in both areas.
Yeah. Couldn't get out.
Couldn't get out.
I
it's
assume
pretty
you've
horrible.
been up to the memorial.
Yeah.
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 Last
we'll
time
have
we
to
were
take-
here.
Corey, this is Corey's first time to Butte.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have to take him
Oh,
all
very
around.
good. Yeah, you'll get the. You made the tour.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about these kinds of work songs until I read that book, Work Song, by Ivan Diller.
Ivan Dote.
I've not read that book. I got a lot of, is it Butte specific or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book, and the way he writes is just, to me, he's just fantastic. And it's all about, that particular book is all about Butte, and it's called Work Song, and they, you know, it's about the Wobblies. You have, talk about the work songs, and they're stirring up the workers against the company. It's a fun book. I highly
Yeah.
recommend it.
I'll look it up.
Is it historical or is it historical fiction?
It's historical fiction.
Okay.
Okay.
You can join our Ivan Dote book club at the Chateau. We'll be reading that soon.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic book. I've read it a number of times just because I just like the way he writes it, and it's about Butte, so it's just fun to just you can picture what he's talking about.
So the last time we were here, you gifted us a book, 17 Voices,
Oh yeah.
and that I gather is kind of similar. Is that those are historical?
Yeah, Christine
Fiction.
can talk about it.
Yeah.
Cause I wasn't there when they did that project.
I sent you guys home with that, and 17 Voices is a collection of 17 monologues, told from the perspective of different people who were there at the fire, all throughout the community. So in the mine, there's even a story of the mules, in the mine, also like a newspaper man, a woman working, and a nurse, just like a whole spectrum of folks that were affected.
We
by
read
the
two on the
disaster.
way here. We read the first one
Yeah.
about the person who was in the car with Frank Little, and then we read the other one about the preacher
Yeah.
who was visited by Sula.
Yeah, and that book came out in 2017 for the centennial of
Yeah.
that.
And so it was kind of similar to this project where you invited writers to.
Yes, we invited Montana authors to
Yeah.
participate in that project. Both
Very
professional authors, and there's a couple of pieces of work in there that are from students actually.
Cool.
cool.
Yeah, that first story, chilling.
Well,
The
yeah.
Frank Little reenactment.
Yeah, when you guys leave the archives today, you can walk down a block.
There's
There's
that was the
that-
first thing I saw when I arrived in November. I parked right in front of it. I was like, "What's that?" And I was like,
oh,
"Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the hotel or boarding house where he was staying and was drug out of was in what's now a parking lot there, yeah.
Okay, and there's a memorial there?
There's a little steel kind of
Sculpture,
sculpture
statue thing, yeah.
Yeah, with a plaque, yeah.
And there's also a painting in the archives hanging in the research room.
Yeah, well, and then there's, let's see, I took a photograph of, there's a poster too, like a screen print poster in the Carpenter's
Yeah,
building, right?
yeah, when you'll be on my radio show today, so you'll see that, is it the picture of Frank Little, or is it, yeah, there's that's one of the DJs made this composite thing,
Okay.
and she put his picture on there too.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go very far in Butte before you find something historical and a story being told. I mean, I remember Rick, it's like my last day here, I interviewed both, and I'm like, so made my list of like, where are all the stops I need, like, what are the places I need to go, and I went to every single one of them, and, yeah.
Great.
All the ones that I guess, a little further out that you could possibly miss, but just walking around uptown, you get a lot. See this area.
Yeah.
Speaking to the, another sort of part of our project is, a couple years ago when we were here, like leading up to that small tour that we did, I was reading a whole bunch of books about Butte and sort of grabbed from different stories. Mostly I was moved by stories of Goosetown. I can't remember the exact title of, but people's like personal accounts of growing up in this area, and so borrowed a lot of lyrical content from that book and others, Mining Childhood, and then there was another very small pamphlet that I found that was about kids in Butte, and so then Jeremy ran with those little pieces that I kind of took out of different stories about kids and growing up, and then he wrote Copper Kids, which was Missincinatti's first original song, and it's all about growing up in Butte or this area. And then we've got a brand new one, Precious Metal, that is also came out of, I guess, this last trip in November, compiling some more stuff from that. And so we'll be presenting those tomorrow night too.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, those are all about you.
And the area.
The greater area.
Mhm.
Anaconda.
Yeah, that's great. Any questions from the audience?
No, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, you're really the ideal type of musician for this project. I mean, I had it brewing in my head when I met you guys the first time, which was when was it?
19, I think.
Yeah, right, yeah, 2019. It was
May.
BC before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is great.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're very engaged with the material and excited about.
Well, and what we learned, so we have a song from our pre-Montana days called Red Iron Ore.
Mm.
I grew up around Lake Superior, and Red Iron Ore is a song about shipping iron ore on the Great Lakes.
Mm.
And I found out, maybe it was the Richest Hill podcast when we were listening to it back in 2019, that Frank Little, the last place that he was, or one of the last places that he was before coming here, was the Great Lakes, organizing the mine
Wow.
workers up there who were mining the red iron ore. So that was kind of a cool connection between our seed material, which we
Mhm.
considered that the part of our shanty type stuff, and then the mining. You know,
Yeah, the red iron ore was like
Frank Little Bridge.
the thing that brought our first life as a band was all about like sea shanties and foxhole songs and things from that that part of folklore and folk songs, and yeah, and then we're like, oh, we're moving to the mines, well, we already had that song which we considered a shanty, but we're like, oh, it totally brings us into the mines, and then Frank Little came into that, and so it's like, wow.
And it was kind of a bridge to coal mine stuff, cause you did some,
Yeah, well, that's where we went first,
Coal
was more Appalachia.
Well, that's interesting because I mean that was the case with a lot of miners too. They moved around from mining town to mining town, and
Yeah.
some of those song lyrics mention that. They mention different places,
Totally,
you know.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so we're musical miners, I guess.
yeah, you're musical miners. I like that. Well, thanks again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
So happy to have you.
Yeah, that's great, thank you.